And hi everyone, and welcome to this other special edition of Langerr at the mic. Here, we are joined by our fellow Habs fan, Sheldon Wiseberg, once again. How's it going today, Sheldon?
It's going all right, Mike. How have you been?
Like I said to you before, I'm just very I'm well in life, which is good. But from a hockey mind standpoint, I'm just very confused and I guess stressed out and kind of lost sleep over this. Unfortunately, the whole situation of we're 3 games in or 4 games in, I guess, in the NHL qualifier round, and we're at the point of, we thought that Edmonton would be up at this point. We thought that, that the Pittsburgh would have taken care of the Habs by now. We thought that the Leafs would have put up a better fight against Columbus. But here we are, where the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Edmonton Oilers have better chances at landing the first overall pick over the Montreal Canadiens and over the Minnesota Wild and over the Vancouver Canucks and the Chicago Blackhawks and all that. So that's where I am right now.
It's really throwing everyone for a loop here.
100%. I mean, look, right now, and that's the video I just shot, so check that out. Actually, I guess it will have been uploaded before I upload this picture, so check it out on my channel at Mike Langerr. But I have committed. I'm fully committed to the tank. I'm fully committed to cheering for the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight, and what will hopefully be a Game 5 not cheering for the Pittsburgh Penguins, cheering for the Canadiens to get the chance to draft first overall or in the top 10 worst case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same here. Long term, that is the best decision to take for the organization.
Let's put it this way. Right now, and we'll talk about the game in a sec. But right now, big picture, nice voice crack there. Big picture. Whether it's Lafreniere or whether it's whoever's available at number 9 or number 10, wherever the Canadiens are going to draft in the top 10 if they lose the series to Pittsburgh, that and whatever else will happen this offseason between now and the 2021 or 2020-2021 season, whatever, that versus not having the top 10 pick and losing winning against Pittsburgh and maybe somehow magically upsetting Boston or upsetting Philly or I think it's Philly or Tampa at this point. Upsetting Philly or Tampa and upsetting Washington or wherever the hell, but not winning the Stanley Cup this year. You don't lose that outcome is not as good as getting a top 10 pick and doing whatever you would have done in free agency or offseason regardless going into next year than not having that opportunity to draft number 1 overall or top 10.
Yeah.
And convince me otherwise.
If they beat Pittsburgh tonight and eliminate them, you got to be, not just you, Mike, but every Habs fan has got to be all in, cheering our guys on to pull off that miracle run. And if they take Tampa in the first round, which is probably likely, that'll be another miracle. But seeing as how Price has been playing pretty much lights out for almost the entire game throughout the previous 3 games in this series, by this point, I have no doubt that he could pull it off. But
and who guessed that Carey Price was the most important performer or most important player on the Canadiens in our episode last week? Thank you. Just saying.
Yeah, of course. And I misspoke. I really should have said, well, we've spoken all about Price for the past 5 years, that he's the major X factor. Let's just have him by default. I'll focus on other people. But, oh man, this is a really heavy situation.
But again, it's not Carey Price. It was Carey Price. Sorry to cut you off. It was Carey Price in Game 1. It was Carey Price in Game 2. 100% Carey Price gave the Canadiens a chance to win Game 2, even though the Canadiens lost 3-1 or 4, whatever it was, 3-1, right? But last game wasn't all about Carey Price. Carey Price was Carey Price when he had to be, but he wasn't the same as he was in Game 1, Game 2. Game 3, the Canadiens actually played a very good hockey game. The Canadiens actually played the way they had to play to beat a team like Pittsburgh. Yeah. The Canadiens between Kotkaniemi, between Suzuki, between Byron getting that solid goal, that wraparound goal, between the Canadiens actually crashing the net, which is the first time we see this all series, right?
Yeah.
Because in games 1 and 2, the Canadiens were just kind of sitting back and were more opportunistic, whereas in game 3, the Canadiens are actually proactively creating chances for themselves and crashing the net. It's almost like if you actually put pucks to the net and are first on rebounds, you're actually going to score more goals. Who would have thought, right?
Right.
Yeah, like the
Thinks of
Canadiens,
this stuff.
like that's why the Canadiens actually played a really solid hockey game, like in game 3. So yeah, I mean, look, if the Canadiens do that again tonight and in game 5, like, you know, I mean, if they lose tonight in game 5, look, the Canadiens will actually pull this off, and they'll lose the chance to draft top 10 or first overall when Toronto or Edmonton or Pittsburgh or whoever else will have the chance to draft first overall.
Why do we watch hockey? Stress relief, mostly.
I mean, look, I have to look, Toronto could still win tonight. Edmonton could still win tonight, could still come back. Pittsburgh could still come back. But I'm just empathizing with fellow Habs fans and hockey fans out there right now. So, yeah.
This is a loop. We're really thrown for a loop here.
I mean, look, regardless of what happens tonight, like, look, the Canadiens are still in a good position. I mean, the fact that Suzuki and Kotkaniemi have been playing as well as they've been playing, the fact that Philip Deneau is basically Patrice Bergeron, but without the offense. Like, you could shut down pretty much any opposing center that means need him to shut down, right? You just can't have 3 Philip Deneaus, unfortunately, right? So you only have 1 Philip Deneau, right? The fact that Jeff Petrie just, you know, happens to just finds ways to score big goals at key times, just has a knack for it, right? Yeah. And the fact that, like, he's still going to be on the team going forward, right? The fact that Shea Weber just is an animal. I mean, we kind of knew that already. Him and Sherratt are just – when was the last time the Canadiens had had a 1 and 2 defensemen that are just big, physical, and almost – I don't want to say intimidate because this isn't like 2010 or whatever back in the, you know, the Boston Bruins or whatever days, but just be physical forces out there as defensemen. When was the last time the Canadiens could say that?
The closest I could think of would be the Markov-Komisarek pairing for the 07-08 season and
but
the start of the
Lucic were in that for Komisarek, and that was
that. Or Craig Rivet and Sheldon Surrey before or just after the full-time lockout 04-05.
Yeah, but Sheldon Surrey is not Shea Weber.
No.
Sheldon Surrey. You could say maybe Rivet was a little bit better than Sherratt. I don't know. But I definitely know that between the two of them, they're not as good as Shea Weber. And then you had Jeff Petrie to the mix. Like,
I'm reaching here, but I've seen an article labeling Sherratt, Weber, and Petrie as the big 3. So immediately you think Guy Lapointe and Sursavar and Larry Robinson. That's a major stretch, but they're playing like they should be a big 3.
And even people forget to mention Kulak. I mean, here's the thing. Like, again, I hate – we do have a hockey game to play tonight. There is a hockey game between the Canadiens and Pittsburgh Penguins. Not even tonight. In about 2 hours and a half, there's a hockey game going on. But but still, just to think about the fact that even Kulak is a solid – has been playing really well as a number 4 defenseman, and then you could add Romanov to that mix, hopefully next year.
Yeah.
Like, the Canadiens, again, they're in a really good position right now, but we want to be in an even better position going forward.
Right. Take 2 steps back to take 10 steps forward in the near future, you know?
Yeah, so storyline tonight, Tristan Jarry is drawing in for Matt Murray. What do you think about that?
I think that's the right move if I was the Pittsburgh coach. As good as Murray has been, and the thing with goaltending is it's voodoo. And in the playoffs, 100%. You do not necessarily need a great goalie. You need a hot goalie. And Matt Murray got hot in the 2016 playoffs. And when he came back in the 2017 playoffs, after he was hurt and Fleury did his work through the first 2.5 rounds. But there was always something I felt about Murray's game that you see sometimes. Hey, look, he was in the reverse VH on the Petrie goal when Petrie was so far out. That's a mistake that a goalie like Matt Murray should not make. And because, look, he hasn't played terribly in this series at all.
But Matt Murray is not the reason Pittsburgh is down this series. Absolutely not. But here's the thing. Like you're right. It's about having a hot goalie, but also, as John Tortorella showed us last night in the Columbus Blue Jackets, that changing goalies, I've always said from the days of minor hockey that I played as a goalie myself, where I've either been pulled or came into a game that my team was down 3-0 or whatever, right? And I came into that game where I got pulled because I wasn't off to an ideal start. But changing goalies has a very underrated effect on momentum.
Yeah.
Has a very underrated effect on momentum.
It's
because
like wiping the slate clean.
Yeah, especially early on. Timely goalie changes early on in a hockey game or at the right time in a series between games has a very underrated effect on momentum. So,
yeah.
And that's, again, nothing against Matt Murray. Matt Murray, yes, that goal, and I went on a whole rant about that as well in my when I went live on Twitter for the post-game show the other night.
Mm-hmm.
But and yeah, as a former goalie myself, like that's just, I find the reverse VH where goalies go on their inside pad, go down on their inside knee, inside the post, right? Way too early and unnecessarily. It's very effective when it's used correctly, but when it's used incorrectly, it is very ineffective. And credit to Jeff Petrie for realizing that, using the time and space that he had in the corner to absolutely just roof it on Matt Murray. But again, that was the one mistake Matt Murray made in this whole series. It's the one bad goal he gave up in my books.
Yeah.
Because everything else, like, Matt Murray's not the reason why the Penguins are down 2-1 in this series. But unfortunately, just like head coaches are fired, sometimes goalies need to be used as a scapegoat, right? To kind of indirectly light a fire under the team and say, this isn't working, and we're going to try something different here.
Yeah.
And this and wake the heck up, you know?
Actually, if anything, I would have thought Jarry would start this series instead of Matt Murray because Jarry had outperformed.
But when has Jarry won 2 Stanley Cups?
He hasn't. But this season,
but when he comes to the playoffs, you go with experience. Playoffs are completely different from the regular season. So Pittsburgh made the right choice to play Matt Murray.
Yes, and there was a reason why they went with it. However, I was still expecting Jarry to start because he outperformed Murray this year. And I wondered, hey, maybe the coach is going to go with the hot hand, which is another way to go. But he didn't. And, well, now the Penguins are in their position. The Canadians have them on the ropes.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And here's where you are right. Because Pittsburgh has because between Jarry and Murray, they're not a Price, or they're not a Vasilevsky, or they're not a Lundqvist in his prime, right? Pittsburgh has the luxury to pull that sort of move, or Columbus yesterday, right? They have 2 goalies that they could put in there, just plug and play. They're both good enough to play, to start in a playoff series, right? And one is not significantly better than the other to get the obvious nod. It's not like because if Carey Price has a bad game, you're not going to be talking about starting Charlie Lindgren the game after. Hell no, right? You're not talking about starting Charlie Lindgren.
No way.
Exactly. So just again, Pittsburgh is a team that, like, between Matt Murray and Tristan Jarry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Matt Murray's the guy. Going with Matt Murray in this series was the right move for Pittsburgh, right? It's just that, yes, he is. Jarry has the hot hand from having played better in the regular season, and that's why now that Murray has started 3 games and is down 2-1, even though he wasn't the reason they're down 3-1, it's the right move to go with Tristan Jarry tonight. And Montreal's gonna have to be ready to deal with Pittsburgh tonight. Montreal's gonna have to be ready to, if they want to win.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as fans, as me personally, I don't want Montreal to win tonight. I don't want the Canadiens to win tonight.
Yeah.
So, anyway. So let's end this quick little show and segment with our predictions, just because the puck drops in less than 2 hours and a half. So, Mr. Wiseberg, what do you think is going to happen tonight in Montreal Canadiens and Pittsburgh Penguins Game 4?
I'm going to think that the Penguins are going to wake up tonight and Malkin's going to have a monster game. Same with Crosby. He looked mad and frankly a little bit shocked at the end of Game 3. You do not want guys of this caliber to get mad or have some sort of motivation when pushed to the brink of elimination. They're going to pull off their best game. So I expect both of them to come out firing.
Yeah.
And Canadians are going to wilt a little bit this time. I don't think they're going to be ready to go.
Well, yeah, like you mentioned Crosby and Malkin coming out mad. I mean, that's exactly how Crosby came back out in at the beginning of Game 2. Mm-hmm. Right? You saw a whole different Sidney Crosby in Game 2 than I think we saw in Game 1. I think Malkin was better in game one than Crosby was in game one, even though Crosby got that goal banking off Price's foot. Yeah. But then Crosby just came out on another level in game two, and I think we're going to see that same Sidney Crosby, whose birthday it is today, I have to mention.
Yeah.
Sidney Crosby's birthday today. I believe he's 33
years old. Happy birthday,
Sidney
Crosby.
Happy birthday, Sid the Kid. Hope you get a hat trick. Hope you get a 3-goal game and first star and en route to a Pittsburgh Penguins victory, so that the Canadians could be another step closer to drafting potentially first overall or drafting in the top 10.
Yeah.
I know, I know a lot of people, like if whoever watches this may or may not hate me, but like whatever, that's just me right now. I've fully committed to the tank anyway. So
yeah.
But yeah, absolutely right. I think Crosby, Malkin are gonna have a big game. But I think that the Canadians will still fight. They'll still put up a really good battle. I'm calling, I would say a 3-2 victory for Pittsburgh.
Okay.
It'll be Crosby with 2 goals and Malkin with 1, or Malkin with 2 goals and Crosby with 1. Take your pick.
Yeah.
Penguins.
I'm going with that too.
Yeah, I would say the Canadians get a goal from. I'd say give Suzuki a goal.
Yeah.
Give Suzuki a goal. And give Gallagher a goal.
Yeah, I see that too. Julien was actually really good with coaching in Game 3, taking Danault off the top line, putting him on the third, and putting Suzuki between Tatar and Gallagher. That reignited the whole team, and as well as Drouin, Kotkaniemi, and Armia. That was the third line to start the season. Now they have great chemistry. The team turned around.
Well, that's exactly it. Right? That's where the Canadians, I'd say, are like the best hope for the Canadians, whether it's now or next year. If they don't get a Lafreniere type of player, or they don't get a high-end free agent, the Canadians' best chance is to have is for the top 2 lines when they go up against a Crosby or a Malkin or a Matthews or a Tavares or a Kucherov or a Stamkos or a Point or whatever, right? Their best hope is at the top 2 lines. You put Philip Deneau out there. You put maybe Suzuki or Kotkaniemi, whoever you trust more defensively out there to keep things steady, right? To weather the storm a little bit, right? But then your third and fourth lines outplay the other team's third and fourth lines. That's the best hope, to have 12 good forwards, 12 decent forwards, right? No star players, but 12 decent forwards that can compete, that are smart, that skate, that work hard, right? That's the hope. And that's why I love these new lines right now, because right now you put Philip Deneau with Byron and I think it's Lehkonen, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So you could throw that line against Crosby and say, look, Byron, Deneau, Lehkonen, don't let Crosby do anything. Don't let Malkin do anything. I mean, there's still Crosby and Malkin, so they'll probably still do something. They will. But that just kind of gives Pittsburgh a bit of an awkward decision. Like, do we put Crosby if they have, I mean, Montreal has last change in this game, but if Pittsburgh has last change, if there's a game 5, they have to think, do we put Crosby on against Deneau? Do we put or if Crosby's against Deneau, do we put Malkin on against Suzuki, against Kotkaniemi, against Domi? It's the same way it could be awkward for the Canadians. It could also be awkward for the opposition to make that decision.
Agreed. 100%. This is a game by the numbers.
But the Canadians also now have to play well and outskate and outwork their opponent, because if they don't, well, then we just come back to the fact that you have guys that are listed as centermen, you have guys that are listed as the positions that they play or their roles that they play. But if they don't execute their roles properly, well, then that's how they're just going to lose 3-1, 4-1, or play like they did against Toronto in the exhibition game.
That seems like a lifetime ago when for the future we tempered our panic a bit, but there were still a little bit concerns. Fortunately, they seem to have worked each other. They've been worked out overall. They got those kinks out.
So looking forward to an interesting and a fun game tonight. Let's just, again, at the end of the day, we're fans. We watch hockey because we love it and because we have fun. But I'll have to remind myself and whoever else is watching, and maybe you too, Mr. Weisberg, about not getting too emotionally conflicted. I've made my decision on who I'm cheering for, but let's enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, and no matter what, rock the sweater, baby.
You got it. So so that concludes today's Langerr at the Mic live show. Thank you very much once again, Sheldon, for joining our show. We'll look forward to have you again sometime soon, and thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time.
It's always a pleasure.